what is an absolute value of an integers. So let's just have this man. What is the meaning of absolute value and why it is needed to explain or why it is needed to study? Now, this number line is there. Okay, from the on that number line, the person is walking some distance, right? The person is walking some distance. That how much distance he has walked. 0 is a starting point, and how much distance he's walked. So that distance is nothing but the absolute value of a particular number, because we know integers are consisting of negative numbers also and positive numbers also, but distance cannot be calculated negative. So that is why the absolute value we used to denote the particular distance, that how much a particular number is there far from the 0, that distance is nothing but the absolute value of that particular number. Okay, now if you see that 6 and minus 6 both are having the same position apart from 0, that is a 6 units away from the 0, right? But minus 6 is having a negative value and plus 6 is a positive value, right? So 6 is 6 away from the 0 and minus 6 is also 6 away from the 0. So the absolute value of 6 is nothing but 6, as well as the absolute value of minus 6 is also 6, because we know the absolute value of any particular thing is nothing but the distance of that particular thing from the starting point, right? So minus 6 is also 6 units away from the 0 and plus 6 is also 6 units away from the 0. So this is how we can explain that absolute value of an any integer. Absolute value of an any integer is nothing but the numerical value of that integer despite of its sign, despite of its sign, right? So the absolute value of minus 3 is also written as modulus 3. That two standing lines is known as the modulus or the mod. So instead of reading or writing this much big sentence, if you denote any particular number into the modulus, the meaning of that or the reading of that number is nothing but the, for example, in the modulus minus 3 is written. So how I'm going to read it, that the absolute value of minus 3. Getting? Now, what is the absolute value of minus 3? That minus 3 is 3 units away from the 0. So what is the absolute value of that minus 3? The absolute value of minus 3 is 3. If you are going to calculate the absolute value of 3, that is also 3. Similarly, we can have the absolute value of minus 5 also and positive 7 also, right? So from this example, what we can conclude, that absolute value is always a positive. Can absolute value, we can say that it's always a positive, because we know the absolute value is nothing but it is only the numerical value despite of sign, right? So let's just think for some time. Now, these are the absolute value of some numbers. Now, what is the absolute value of 0? That starting point, it's always a 0, because we know distance is a non-negative quantity and 0 is also the non-negative. So we can say absolute value of any particular number can be positive or can be 0, but it will never be negative, right? So the absolute value is a non-negative quantity because it can be 0 or it's always a positive. Okay. So let's just have, if the equation is given to us and we have to find the absolute value of that particular equation, then how to calculate? Now see, one equation is given into the modulus, that is 8 minus 3, which is equal to 5. We know 8 minus 3 is 5 and 5 modulus is also 5. Now 3 minus 8, that smaller number subtracting the bigger number. So definitely my answer is minus 5, but the equation is in the modulus. So that minus 5 becomes plus 5. Why? Because in the modulus sign get vanish, right? In the modulus we have to remove the negative sign, and what is my answer? That is a 5 only, right? So if we are having a multiplication sum, if we are having a division or any other, if the particular question is in the modulus, then we have to solve that particular equation first, then second write the answer into the modulus, and if it is negative, then only positive, only the number will come out. If it is positive, then only that number will come out. Okay, so this is how we have seen today the absolute value of an integer. The same concept you can apply for the rationals also. Yeah, if you like, then you can subscribe.